All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode in this series called Maximize Your Mastermind. Maximize Your Mastermind. So, this is for mastermind leaders as well as mission driven coaches that aspire to be a mastermind leader. And today we have a very special guest, Matthew Cooke, who is the founder of the Body Based Breakthrough, which is a method for somatic coaching. And before I introduce you here, Matthew, first, Matthew has over 15 years of experience in this field, and he's certified over 100 coaches himself in his body based breakthrough method. And before that, Matthew had the privilege of working with high tech founders and teams. For example, maybe some of the names that you might recognize: Snapchat, Dropbox, Iterable, and has consulted with leaders from SpaceX, Google, Apple, Twitter, Slack, and teams from so many different industries that that's just scratching the surface. And what did he help them do? Help them use those brilliant minds as well as tap into the even more brilliant power, I believe, of the body, of the subconscious mind, of the wisdom that is below the surface. So, with that being said, welcome aboard to the show today, Matthew.
Thanks, Sebastian. Super excited to be here, man. We've known each other for, as I was saying earlier, 17,000 years. So I'm excited that we get to chat today.
Exactly. Yes, this interview has been years in the making, and I'm really excited to share this with everybody here because one of the quotes that I use in my work all the time is that the subconscious mind is 1 million times more powerful than the conscious mind, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton. So you don't have to take my word for it. That's the doc's words. So I see that the body is a reflection of our subconscious mind and vice versa. And that's why I'm so excited with your method, because it's these interesting, gentle movements that you do with people that all of a sudden, boom, unlock a new idea over here, unlock new energy over there, move heavy energy that they were feeling blocked on, all these wonderful things. So just setting the stage with that here. Um, yeah, before we get into the method and your story and your mission, could you share a bit more of kind of like what's the challenges, the problems that people come to you with when they're like, okay, I need this type of body-based breakthrough?
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I think some of the biggest ones is people feeling, well, there's sort of personal and professional. So I'd say on a personal front, I think a lot of people feel like they're lacking direction in the way that they want to support their clients. So sort of a lack of clarity. I think there's a lot of anxiety that people experience and also imposter syndrome. On a personal level, I think a lot of people are afraid that I don't want to like mess people up even more. So they're sort of like, I'm going to just stick to the mindset stuff. We work with a lot of health coaches, a lot of mindset coaches, certainly therapists, other mental health professionals, but we also have yoga teachers as well. So lots of different kinds of leaders come to our work. So I'd say on the personal front, and then professionally, I think that they want to close the gap. A lot of them feel like there is this this next level to which they can support their clients that they feel like currently they're missing. So wanting to add a body-based or somatic component to their coaching practice.
Mm,
So, yeah.
absolutely. And interestingly enough, today, this morning, I was in one of your sessions.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the things I love about your sessions, that you can come into it with a question or, a block of some type. And then pretty soon after the interesting movements, the idea pops up. And that's how it's been for me. So just wanted to state that plainly that, yeah, I've experienced the magic and it's been great.
Thanks, Sebastian. Yeah. Yeah, it's really special. I mean, that is like when we think about our somatic coaching approach, the goal is like, how do I deepen the relationship between my mind, my body, and ultimately my actions? Because that's at the end of the day, like you can talk about the chakras, you can get as woo-woo as you want, and I will go there with the best of them. But for me, I grew up in Wisconsin and we're very practical in the Midwest. And so for me, it's like when we talk about alignment, when we've worked with different organizations over the years, it's really how do I get my mind and my body and my actions all lined up so that there's a lot less drag on, right? Like you think of like aerodynamics, like with a car, it's like, so there's a lot less drag because I'm not being pulled in all these different directions. So if I can get my mind, my body, and my actions all lined up, then we're in a really good place. And so, like you said, gentle movement, breath work, and then I think what sets us apart in the way that we're approaching somatics is adding journaling as
Mm,
a component of this too. So like you said, there's a current challenge that I'm essentially working with in my life, whatever that may be. We call that your headline.
mm,
And then we access body wisdom to make more aligned decisions, and ultimately take more aligned and inspired action in our lives as a result as well. So, the last thing I'll say is a lot of our people that come through our program kind of joke that it's like going on a date with your body. So, yeah, I like to think of that in a sense of kind of like, yeah, how do you want to get into a deeper relationship the with your body and the conversations that we're constantly having with the mind and the body, but we're just not aware of and not tapping into. So this gives us access to that.
right, right. Going on a date with your body. Interesting. Yeah, I was wondering during the session today why all of a sudden a glass of wine and plate of pasta showed up. But I guess just that was my date night style today.
Nice.
Bad joke, bad joke.
Dad jokes, dad jokes.
Okay. So maybe later on, maybe we could do a brief demo. That'd be
Totally.
awesome. Okay, great. But before we do that, I'd love to hear how did you get into this? How did your mission start? Where you're like, okay, I have
Yeah.
this gift of blending neuroscience, yoga, business,
Yeah.
simplifying. Yeah, how did that get started for you?
Yeah, I love that. Well, yeah, so yeah, a little backstory. Um, so I worked in tech out of school.
Mm,
And so I was working at a company, we were building the Netflix for optimal living was the idea. And so as head of content curation, I got to work with like 200 plus of the world thought leaders and everything from neuroscience to productivity to conscious business to parenting, mindfulness, spirituality, you name it. It was incredible. Unfortunately, though, at 24 years old, I was working 70-hour work weeks because that's what you do in tech. And I kept getting these really, really dizzy flu-like symptoms. And that was happening every 2 weeks. And it was ongoing for about 6 months until I just eventually fully burnt out. And I
mm,
wanted to understand like why my body and mind were not working together and really seemingly like at war with one another. And so over the last 12, and now we're going on close to 15 years, I've created my own PhD in trauma healing and burnout recovery. So I've read hundreds of academic journals and studies and gained over 1,000 hours of yoga teacher certifications, like you mentioned, and then have studied with leaders in the space like somatic experiencing and Peter Levine's work, organic intelligence with Steve Hoskinson, Dare, Irene Lyon, like the list goes on and on. But I realized though it was like you said, Sebastian, it was in yoga classes and on really long walks that
mm,
I would get the best ideas and where I felt the most like connected to myself while having less anxiety, overwhelm. And so I created a really simple journaling and movement system. And I just like began sharing it for free with my friends, and a few clients who I found like were really receptive and very quickly found that we could predictably, reliably help clients understand their own anxiety and imposter syndrome and really get clear on where they felt like they were lacking direction and ultimately recover 5 times to 10 times faster, because of our science backed process. To get, like I said earlier, the mind, the body, and the actions all lined up working together in 15 minutes. And so fast forward to 2021, I'm working with a group of 8 senior leaders at a large tech company in Santa Monica. And this is so funny, Sebastian. The clients went through the session, and as the clients sort of like slowly oriented back to the room, it's some people, it's almost like a bear coming out of hibernation. And I don't know if you can attest to that, Sebastian, but it was like this guy like came out, he had like his B3 journal, and he was kind of like in a daze. He had his inspired action in hand, and he was like, where did you learn this system?
Hmm.
And I kind of sheepishly was like, I don't know. Well, like I just kind of created it at this because it's 2021. So this would have been about like 12 or so years in. And I was like, I don't know. I just kind of Frankenstein this thing together. And I've personally shared this with thousands of leaders and groups and in one-on-one. And he looked at me and shockingly, he with disgust. I thought he would be like, "Oh, that's really cool." And with disgust on his face, Sebastian, he was like, "That's a damn shame."
Hmm.
And I was completely shocked. And he was like, "There should be an army of people teaching this stuff. People really need this, and there's only one of you."
Hmm.
And so that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And so later that year, I thought, what if I take my understanding of sort of the high performance coaching industry, my trauma informed sort of body based background, to simplify, streamline, systematize like the entire somatic coaching process. And that's exactly what I did. And we called it body based breakthrough, or B3. And so, yeah, like on social media, people were wondering, like, why are leaders at, and teams at Google and Apple and SpaceX and Snapchat, why are they seeing the value in the method? So I decided to put together our first training later that year, 2021. We took 6 incredible women through it just happened to be women through the program to heal their own anxiety, imposter syndrome, and overwhelm. And then, like I said earlier, like really filling the gap in their ability to help their clients sustainably transform without, we jokingly talk about it. And I don't know if I've said this yet in the training, Sebastian, but like getting people off the roller coaster of transformation is
Hmm.
really our ultimate goal. And to do it without having to like go through a 3 year plus trauma healing program.
Hmm.
Um, and that's the market we've been serving ever since. So it's been phenomenal. So yeah, we have a 3 month program, and our coaches are implementing it with their coaching clients and getting extraordinary results. So
Hmm.
it's been a ride. It's been really wild.
It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame.
So he said, he literally was like,
Yeah.
that's a damn shame.
Yeah, I'd love to double click on that because
Hmm.
I feel like that's so powerful and everybody can resonate with that in some way who's mission driven.
Yeah.
And to feel that calling, to feel that mission and our own limitations in whatever way that can show up for ourselves, can
Yeah.
be there. And to have somebody call that and see that so clearly, feel as powerful. And I feel like it's an interesting thing for all of us at multiple steps of our journey of like,
Yeah.
perhaps what's the damn shame for us right now? Is it
Yeah.
launching that program, or is it launching the mastermind, or is it launching or just being more visible on that social platform, or being visible in a certain way, or speaking what you believe? So yeah, I just love that. It's a damn shame. Like it's a that could be like a plaque, to
It
see
was
and remember.
powerful. It was really powerful. I will never forget that moment. And it was like with this like real Papa Bear energy, like, dude, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? It was a very like man to man kind of moment. Like he was just like, dude, like, what are you doing? Why are you the only one doing this?
Hmm.
So, yeah, that was a very, very special moment. And also terrifying because he was like a very high ranking executive at this tech company. So, uh, yeah, pretty wild.
Hmm. Wild indeed. Yes. Oh, what do we have here?
This
There we
company,
go. There
this
we
company.
go. Hints.
So insert. Yeah. Anyway, so it was pretty wild. Very grateful. Very grateful.
So cool. So I'd love to start going into a type of demo. And I believe that's so powerful that in my experience, the tech space can be so logical left brained. So it's like, wow, if the body-based breakthrough was able to connect and deliver value to people on the side of the spectrum of being, very left brain and logical, like, wow, that's an incredible endorsement, not to mention, the highest companies. So,
Hmm.
because I feel like if it was like, oh, creative types love getting connected to the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
That's
Of course.
yeah.
Dancers love getting connected to the body. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every person has, a mind that's operating and moving fast. I believe this is like
Yeah.
probably the peanut butter and jelly to that combo.
Ooh, the peanut butter and jelly. Well, yeah, I mean, and I think that the reason that tech companies have actually really loved it, Sebastian, is because I think just individuals in general is because the way that we're framing it is this idea that there's so much wisdom inside of the body. Our our nervous system picks up 12 million stimuli per second, and our
Mhm.
conscious mind can only handle 40 to 50 bits per
Mm.
second. So 12 million, 40 to 50.
Mm.
There's such a discrepancy. It's extraordinary, the discrepancy. And so I think that that's in so many ways why this is so powerful because we're gleaning all of this information. And when we talk about it with companies, is like we're gathering more data
Mm.
to make better decisions.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, we're walking away with an inspired action. So when I'm working with a group of people, and again, this works for mastermind leaders as well, is like when we're working with a group of people, we can say, okay, what did we all get individually? And then collectively, how do we move this thing forward as a group?
Absolutely.
So it's pretty
Awesome.
wild.
It
Yeah.
is. And I'd love to go into a demonstration now if you're open to it, because
But
I believe feeling is believing with this type of work.
yeah.
And so before we go into that, a few things to set the stage a bit. Number one, if anybody's liking this and they're interested in learning more, you got a free gift that we'll talk about later, but
Yeah.
bodybasedbreakthrough.com/LM.
Slash LM. Mm-hmm.
Go. People can go right now. And yeah, so knowing your work, perhaps if we could do a guided facilitation of if a person has a question right now that's on their mind. And I think the way that you phrase it, which I really like, is something along the lines is like it's weighing on you, or there's some emotional piece to it. Like it's got
Yeah,
your mind going, it's got maybe your emotions going. So something this week, and then maybe if we could do that guided through that, and then boom, they get
totally.
breakthrough here live.
Yeah. I love it. How long do you want to take? How long do we want to rock?
Let's see. Maybe, do you think maybe 10 to 15 minutes?
I think we can do 10 to 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do a little quick zippy through it. What's yeah, that's good. I was wondering if I should share my screen for anything, but I think we don't. Yeah, we can just give it a quick whirl. Yeah, so what I guess I'd encourage everyone to do is to if you have a pen and paper,
Hmm.
to go ahead and grab that and in your top left-hand corner of your paper, put a little H.
Hmm.
And so for that H, we'll think of that as our headline. So our question that we're sort of contemplating. Thomas Edison used to hold two metal ball bearings in his hand, and he would fall asleep with a question on his mind that he couldn't quite crack the answer with on a conscious level. So he would drift off to sleep with this question rolling around in his head. And if, as we all know, there's a certain point in sleep, the ear muscles all go soft. And so the ball bearings would fall out of his hand, they'd crash to the floor, and he'd wake up with the creative solution to his problem. And
Wow.
so that will be your headline is like if he was asking like how does the filament work in the light bulb? Something like that. That would be so your headline. It could be in any area of life. That's your headline. Then across that same page, but towards the middle of the page, can actually just show this. This will be way easier. So you have your headline, and then across from that, you have the DE, which is desired experience. So this is like assuming I solve the headline, what would I be experiencing in that ideal state? So it could be clarity, could be certainty, could be confidence, trust, play, connection, love, power, dominance. It could be anything and everything that would feel good to be experiencing, right? So in an ideal world, So it could be example could be what's the next step in my career could be your headline, and then your desired experience might be certainty, clarity, trust, these kinds of things. So have those two. And then at the very, very bottom of your page, I want you to write IA. And IA is inspired action. So at the end, we'll come up with an inspired action. Yeah. We'll just do a quick mini one today. So it won't be anything massive here, but
And everybody listening, I'm going to do it too. I already did it this morning. So I'm going to do a double dose with a different question.
ooh, a different
So
headline. Uh-huh.
let's rock. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Cool. So to begin, what I'll invite you to do is just set your journal off to the side. So it's there. You have your pen clicked ready to go. If you have anything that you want to write, you can write at any time, but just know that it's there. And we'll spend a few moments with the breath, with the body. The way that we start is this process called orientation. So I just let my eyes gently take a walk around my environment. Imagine that your eyes are nicely sitting in your eye sockets, almost like a hammock, so that your eyes can soften back and just simply receive the environment around you. Notice what comes into your awareness. What do you see? What sounds can you hear in your environment? Maybe you can hear cars on the road, or a loved one in another room, or a fan. Maybe the laundry is running. What do you hear? And then bring your attention to your feet and just sort of slowly coming in with your awareness. Notice your feet on the floor, your seat in your seat. And then notice your spine. And you don't have to adjust anything, you don't have to get any taller. Just simply notice your spine as it is. And then, if you feel comfortable, to gently soften your gaze or close your eyes and notice where your breath is sitting today in your belly. I invite you to just imagine that you have this cool blue balloon in your lower belly and lower back. And then with every inhale, you gently inflate this cool blue balloon. As you exhale, it gently deflates. As you inhale, it inflates. As you exhale, it deflates. Gently let it float up into your rib cage. Same idea. So just expanding in the rib cage. As you inhale, the balloon opens in all four directions. As you exhale, it gently deflates. As you inhale, it inflates. As you exhale, it deflates. And then let it float up in between your shoulder blades and just behind your physical heart. So again, this balloon expands in your upper chest, upper back. One more breath. And as you exhale, that balloon floats up, up, and away. And you just consider what's been on my mind in the last 24 to 48 to 72 hours. Like, what's been taking up my mental and emotional bandwidth? And as that bubbles up, you just gently make your way to your journal and jot down your headline in the form of a what or a how question. What's my headline? What's the next step in my career? How do I repair with my partner? How does the filament work in the light bulb? And if you need to pause this recording, you certainly can if you're still writing. And we'll just keep moving. So we'll come right back to the breath. And so you feel your feet on the ground again if you want to soften your gaze or close down your eyes. And the second breath we'll do here, we'll call breath constellation. So with your breath, just as it naturally comes in and out. And I want you to just bring your attention just behind your eyelids to the pit of your throat, the center of your chest, just behind your belly button, and the tip of your tailbone. Eyelids, throat, chest, belly button, tailbone. And draw a line of breath along this constellation. Natural cycle of breath. And consider, how would I desire to experience this headline in an ideal world, assuming I solve this headline? What would I be experiencing? Joy, connection, play, trust. Write down 1 to 5 adjectives next to DE for your desired experience. Yeah, cool. And then to begin from there, we'll go into a little bit of a moving meditation. So you have your headline, you have your desired experience. And so to begin, just gently draw your chin towards your chest and begin to explore your neck. So as you're moving around, and here's the fun part. Some of you are probably jerking your neck around like you're trying to get a chiropractic adjustment. Instead, I want you to consider, what if I explored quality over quantity? One of my teachers says the slower you move, the quicker you'll change. So just going inside with your attention, consider your desired experiences and notice what thoughts and images come to my mind as I think about my desired experiences. Thoughts and images come to my mind. And as those bubble up to the surface, you can gently make your way to your journal. You can doodle a picture or draw a memory. Just noticing what images come up, what thoughts. Yeah. And then same thing with the headline. So we're still exploring the neck and again looking for pockets of what's pleasant actually. So a lot of us are searching for what feels uncomfortable or how do I really get a good stretch? And instead, I want you to just think, what feels good or what feels even pleasant here? And maybe even hang out in those areas a little bit longer. And as you're still doing that movement, consider your headline. As you think about your headline, what thoughts, what images come to mind? If nothing bubbles up, that's okay too. Might be pasta and red wine. Yeah. And then in your own time, you very gently be so gentle with yourself. Bring your chin back to a neutral position. And then take both of your palms, place them on your upper thighs, and gently press into your thighs and just lift your chest, shoulders roll down your back. You can drop your butt to the back of your seat. And then as you exhale, gently curl and round your spine. You inhale, lift your chest. And exhale, curl your chest. And then just for time today, we'll do a slightly truncated experience. So come back to neutral. And then we'll just do a twist. So you just gently rotate off to the right. You can use your hand as a pillar of support behind you if you wish. Gentle twist to the right. And as you rotate, close down or soften your gaze. Close down your eyes or soften your gaze. And I want you to consider desired experience sensation. So, as you think about your desired experiences, what sensations are you aware of inside? Maybe you feel a tightness in your chest, or maybe you feel lightness and open, spacious in your chest. What do you notice in your belly? Does it feel tight and constricted? Does it feel loose and open as you think about your desired experiences? Maybe there's tingling. Maybe your feet want to move. Slowly switch sides. And again, if you want to jot anything down in your journal, you absolutely can. We'll just rotate in the other direction. And again, as you land on that second side, just gently close down your eyes. And now, headline sensation. So, as you think about your headline, what sensations are you aware of? It's probably a little different. Maybe you feel a little bit of tightness in your shoulders, or maybe your jaw is a little bit more tense, or maybe your brow furrows. What do you notice in sensation as you think about your headline? It's all just data. Gently come back to center. And for time today, we'll just wrap up with something that we call deep rest. So this is fun because most of us are either standing or sitting, presumably. Maybe you're laying down. Find the most comfortable position so that you can really let your body give way to gravity for just a few moments. We won't be here for very long, but I want you to imagine, just like Thomas Edison with those two metal ball bearings, just imagine that you could drift off towards sleep for a few moments, even if you're standing. Not that you'll literally fall asleep, but just giving yourself a few moments to fully rest inside. And then ask your body, what wisdom do you have for me today? Put aside the thinking mind and just wait for an answer to come. As it does, you can just make your way to your journal and start writing. Again, you can pause this recording at any time. What wants to happen? Like, what's missing or what needs to complete here in regards to your headline? What is it that you know, that you know, that you know to be true? What am I maybe trying to ignore or pretend isn't happening in this situation? Where could I simplify this whole thing? Make it so much easier. Again, if you're still writing, that's great. Then I encourage you to consider, as you look over everything that you've written today, could be a sentence, could be 10 pages. What's my inspired action? if I could do one big takeaway from this whole thing, if there was one tiny actionable step I could do in the next 24 to 48 hours, could be to send that text, to write that email, that intro paragraph to that book. Could also be to take a nap or get a massage. What's your inspired action? Cool. And if you're still writing, obviously, please keep writing. Otherwise, to come out, we'll come out the same way that we came in. So we'll do that orientation thing again. So you can slowly, if you have your eyes closed, you can slowly roll them open, very gently, taking in a little bit more light and a little bit more light and a little bit more light as you take a look around your environment, but not in any sort of rushed way, like almost in a really like you're hanging out in a field or in the middle of a forest and you're just sort of looking around, noticing what's around you. As you're noticing what's around you, notice if anything looks a little different, because presumably the environment didn't change, but maybe you did. I have some clients that when we wrap up a session, sometimes we start a session and they're like, it's just so ugly outside. It's such a dreary, sad day, and then 45 minutes later, nothing is different. Like the weather's not any different. It's not that much later in the day. And they go, wow, it's so beautiful outside. And they'll just sort of say, yeah, the trees look really bright and warm and comforting and it's cool. There's this concept that one of my teachers, Steve Hoskinson, teaches called outsight. Outsight. And it's this idea that the I see on the outside a reflection of what's happening on the inside. So yeah, just noticing what you notice. Yeah. What do you notice, Mr. Sebastian?
Hmm. Yeah, I got a inspired action.
Sweet.
Yeah, in the process. I felt that it was interesting that turning to one side, I
Mhm.
felt like a little knot in my stomach
Uh-huh.
that, was about that thing unsolved.
Uh-huh. The
And then
headline.
when I
Yeah.
went, yeah, about the headline. And then when I went to the other side, the left side, it was lightweight, peaceful, free, expansive, still thinking about like the same headline, same emotions, desired experience.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, it's just bubbling up. And the other one, it was like a little knot on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so wild. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of fun that we're in like a podcast format so we can just keep chit-chatting because normally I would be very quiet for people as they're sort of integrating their process. But what we're dealing with, and you're going to learn this week in the program, Sebastian, there's this concept that my teacher Peter Levine of somatic experiencing talks about. He calls it SciBAM. But in body-based breakthrough, we refer to it as our somatic signature. So
Hmm.
just like Sebastian has a very unique signature, Matthew has a very unique signature, our friend Jill has, we all have very unique signatures. Our bodies have a very unique signature in how they communicate to us through the language of the body about every particular topic.
Hmm.
So anything that you bring to your body, any question that you bring it, there's going to be a set of emotions and a set of sensations and a set of images, as well as even behaviors, like an impulse, a natural impulse of the body, like to jump, to run, to kick, to punch, to hug, to kiss, whatever it may be, but like these natural impulses from the body, but also thoughts
Hmm.
that will naturally arise with that input of whatever the question is.
Mm.
So that's why we call it a somatic signature, because it's this unique spider web of these different channels of experience associated with that one question. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but so it's like every question that's like, how does the filament work in the light bulb? Thomas Edison had very unique images that would pop up in his mind as he thought about that question. He had a very unique sensations that would have arisen in his body, as well as emotions
Mm.
asking that question versus if he was like, how do my wife and I, repair our relationship or whatever? That would be a very different, unique set of sensations and emotions and thoughts and images. And so what's really cool is by mining this data for this particular headline that I have in each particular session, I am I'm gathering more information so that I can make more informed decisions. Because most of us, I'll be honest, like they actually did a study that these stock traders that are the most in tuned with what they talked about is like their gut feeling,
Mhm.
like we should sell or we should buy or whatever. Those ones are like 85% more successful or something. Like I don't remember the exact number, but it's like it's wild how
Mm.
much more successful the ones that were tapped into this to their sensory awareness of their body and could make decisions based on their sensations, wildly more successful. And
Mm.
so I'm not saying like everyone should be like ooh gooey ooey feely all the time, but for if I can start to tease out the sensation, the emotion, the image, the behavior or impulse of the body every time a question comes up in my life, um, I'm going to find more success in life. And success, not successful to me, but successful to you. Like whatever's most meaningful to you, you'll keep moving in that direction more effortlessly, more easily, if you can just be aware of that information that your body is giving you all the time.
Mm.
So, and I think as it pertains to our mastermind leaders and to our coaches, whether you should be even starting a mastermind, or maybe it's like, goodness, I really should be starting a mastermind, and like really feeling that and knowing that in your being on such a deeper level than, oh, I just read an article somewhere that it's a good idea to do this thing. And I would imagine that for some of you that are listening right now, that there's a very visceral response of like, I feel so connected to Sebastian and I feel so connected to this idea of doing a mastermind. And you can't, once you see those things, you can't unsee it. Like once you know those things, you can't unknow them. And that's, I think, the power of body based breakthrough in so many ways.
Mm.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said. And yeah, that conviction, that's what comes to mind when we feel that conviction, that calling, like in our bones, in our body, it's coming from that powerful place.
yeah. Yeah, and I will say it's kind of like take is the shit, I don't remember from the Matrix. You remember if he takes the red, is it the red pill or the blue pill? Like which was the one
Red pill takes the
the
red
red
pill.
pill?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're taking the red pill a little bit. So I should probably preface that more with people is like, hey, sorry, you're gonna like really find out the truth of the situation for yourself.
Mm.
And I don't mean like that's the other interesting thing I think about all this too, is that there's so much nuance to like what truth is, but you will certainly find your truth, like what's truly real for your body, when we do this practice. Because when we do it, yeah, the language of the body is so specific.
Yeah.
And I think our minds are very agile. And so they can kind of come up with like really interesting ways to kind of skirt around ideas or like, well, maybe not, but our bodies like are very direct. It's very, I wouldn't say black and white, but there's a little bit less nuance to the body in some ways in
Mm.
terms of the responses that it gives us. It's pretty clear with like this is a real yes or this is a real no. So
Right. You can feel it.
you can
And
feel it. Yeah.
on that topic of nuance, I believe that's so powerful for mission driven coaches, mastermind leaders. I mean, the nuance, I believe, in leadership is everything. And, the I got the visual as you were speaking about the mind. It's moving fast, it's figuring things out, right? And I've just really learned over the years, it's been over 7.5 years now as a mastermind leader, is that the more I get in touch with the nuances, like almost like smelling the winds of change or like feeling those,
Mhm.
kind of where the tide is going, which I believe comes from the body's intuition, body's intelligence. It's like
Mhm.
everything goes so much more smooth because even if we have the skills and the communication to like keep the ship going and, smooth things out, it's way smoother to do it in the beginning rather than like say damage control.
Yeah.
Fires.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you, Sebastian. You're right. It's so much harder to like yank something back when it's so much further along. It's
Right.
so much easier to just like cut thing, like nip it in the bud kind of thing when it comes up. And I think that's really the true gift in being able to be a little bit more sensitive when our with our antenna
Yeah.
of what we're picking up.
Right.
So 100% agree. One of my teachers actually said that the body is the first to pick it up and the last to set it down between the body and the mind because our minds are so agile. And so the body is actually 6 times slower to integrate information.
Hmm.
So it picks it up really quickly, but it's 6 times slower than the mind to like really unfold as far as um, yeah, as far as really taking in information. So it's important to know that. In fact, knowing that this is a little PSA I should make for people that just did this session with us, this little demo is that you just it's almost like I wish I could have a better metaphor here, but it's almost like a extended release pill. You know how it's
That's
like
a great metaphor.
yeah,
That's
because it
it.
because it is. It's like we just took the medicine, and so like the funny thing is like you just sent like a heat-seeking missile on your mind toward this particular headline. So in the next 24, 48 hours, like there might just be, some people like to call it like a download or I don't know, but like just something will pop into your head. Suddenly you're going to have an aha eureka moment. And it may not have happened during the session, but in the next 24, 48 hours, that might happen. There's this cool bundle of neurons at the back of the brainstem called the reticular activating system. Are you familiar with this, Sebastian?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like the science of the law of attraction. So like attracts like, but it's like this filtering system for the brain that says this is important. Because like we said, our nervous system picks up 12 million stimuli per second. Conscious mind 40 to 50 bits. So our conscious brain literally has to filter out so much information of what's actually important. And so you just for it was only 15, 20 minutes that we did the session, but your brain, you just primed your system like so well, just like warming up to go play a sport. You really warmed up your system to be looking for the answers to that question. And so that's the beautiful thing is like it could drop in the next couple of days. And
Ab-
this is the gift that you can give your mastermind clients, which I think is what's so cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing I want to speak to, because it's kind of a funny thing, like typically the people, that I've served, one of their biggest challenges is being faced with a problem, having their brilliant mind so used to figuring it out and pushing their way through. Biggest challenge is taking a break, sleeping on it, going for a
Yeah.
walk, getting out from it. And the mind, the left brain's like, we're so close, we're so close.
Yeah.
But hey, that's a door that you might be close to on the other side, but that door isn't going to be opened by the conscious mind. It's only
Yeah.
going to be opened with sleeping on it, going for a walk, maybe both. And
Yeah.
so I love how you're putting all these neuro-based explanations of why that conventional wisdom of like, hey, just go sleep on it. Hey, go for a walk. And I even
Yeah.
talk to myself, like anytime I get into that where I'm like trying to, figure something out, take
Yeah.
that ball of yarn and put it, I'm like, this is
Yeah.
not something my left brain's going to figure out.
Yeah.
But, no, 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 no. It's just
Yeah.
not. So I got
Yeah.
to untouch. So I love how this is a method to
Yeah.
tap.
Well, even Albert Einstein said you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that it was created from. And Yeah, boom. So you're basically a genius, Sebastian, in saying that because because right, it's like it's true. I think that's why people like love psychedelic medicine. They love holotropic breath work. They love body-based breakthrough when they try it because it sends me into an alternate state of consciousness,
Mm,
which allows me to get some distance away from the problem or the challenge or the thing that I want to unpack a little bit deeper so that I can really see it from a new perspective. And that's what all these other channels of experience are as well, is they give us a new lens through which to see that problem.
mm,
So it's really wild because, yeah, most of us have been so well trained in the thinking channel. Like we're all so good at thinking because it's like it's how we survive in our society. But there are others of us that are really well trained in the emotional channel.
mm.
And then there are others that are really well trained in the sensation channel. And oh, balloons. And then whoa, where did those go?
Balloon channel.
And the balloon channel. And then there's also people who are like very image driven. Like I don't know about you, Sebastian, when I read a book, some people say that they like can see the whole movie of the book in their minds, like the whole thing playing out. I
Yeah.
don't have that, but apparently that's a thing. Most people are like, "Oh yeah, I saw it so vividly." Like I remember when Harry Potter first came out, and people were like flipping over tables because they were like, "That's not what Harry Potter looks like," and like just like furious because like in their minds they had it so clearly imaged out, right? So it's really interesting. We all have channels that we're more dominant in because of the way that our caretakers, parents, what parent raised us. And so like it's actually these channels are actually passed down generation by generation, which is kind of wild. And but you can train it just like you can train a muscle. So we can get better at sensation. If you have people are like, I don't feel things, which is baloney because if you have a brain stem, you can feel sensation. Like sensation lives in the brain stem. And it's just this really ancient neural pathway that's just like just falling asleep. And so we just need to like wake it up. And it just takes a little bit of like training. And that's what's really cool. And I think again, a gift that you can give your mastermind folks is the ability to like tap into all of these different channels of awareness for themselves. Because what are we doing masterminds for anyways, right? To come together, to support one another, but also to support ourselves and like being greater, better, happier, healthier versions of ourselves, right? And ideally our communities and our world. And so to me, it's like, this is where it's at. Like that's how I look at it. It's like, yeah, we can talk about it all day and the content's really cool. Like the content of our conversations, but also like, well, how are we experiencing that content?
Mm.
I don't know. I'm a nerd about this stuff, so sorry if I just went on such a tangent, but
No,
it's
I
so
love
cool
it.
to me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And speaking of gifts and giving this gift to ourselves as well as mastermind members, yeah, why don't you share a bit more about the special gift that you have for
Yeah,
listeners, podcast listeners, excuse me, today?
the pod listeners. Yeah,
There.
if you go to bodybasedbreakthrough.com/LM, you can get our it's a free 15-minute coaching session. So it's a recording of me going through this process a little bit more depth than we did today. And it just gives you a real sense of how to do this process. And that's been our big goal, Sebastian, is like we just want to be arms wide open and sharing this process because we recognize that it needs to help more people. And I think that just like that guy in 2021 that was like, this is a damn shame that you're not sharing this with people. So I just want to get it out to as many people as possible. So please share it with anyone and everyone that feels interest, that would be interested or sort of curious about the body. And I think that, trauma is like such a sexy word right now. And I mean, sure, trauma, like let's talk about trauma. Great. But I also think sometimes just my ability to even be present with the experience of my body
Mm,
is just as important. I think we one of my teachers calls it like we have an addiction to intensity.
mm, mm,
Like we have this addiction to like 24-hour news and Instagram and all the it's like and like all of the like car crashes and all of the just like the gore and the violence and like that's what's so interesting to us. Um but I think I think what can be way more powerful is to start to tune ourselves to the sensations inside of myself and to get more and more comfortable and safe inside of myself. Because I think some people, one of my teachers says that this is really sad because she said that in the 90s they would say like, and what are you noticing right now in your body? But she said that we stopped saying that in the 2000s
Hmm.
because the body has felt like more and more of an unsafe place for people to be.
Hmm.
So we don't even directly, as somatic coaches, and that's what our 3 month training program is. We don't even directly ask people all the time anymore, like, what are you noticing in your body? Because even that can feel too like too vulnerable or too intimate or too scary of a place to hang out. So it's just like, and what are you noticing right now? Um, Giving people like a little bit more of an openness to what sort of channel they want to go into of awareness. Because sensation for so many people is so intense nowadays. So I don't know. That was such a downer of a of an explanation, but I think it's powerful when we can start to get into presence with our bodies. Yeah.
Hmm.
This is why yoga and walks and meditation and all these things are so good. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, a few things come to mind. The gears
Please.
are turning up here and down here, you know. We don't leave the body out. Um, yeah, now more than ever, I believe this is needed. So when you mentioned sharing this with people that could benefit from it, I believe now more than ever, because anxiety going through the roof, stress going through the roof, you know, news channels, media channels are just even doing them even more.
Yeah.
Life events, current events, global events, like things are only getting more intense. So by necessity, we need this. And having more presence, having more peace, what does that do for our strength? What does that do for our leadership? What does that do for even our compassion? You know, because with the love that we share with others, because if we're in a fight or flight or freeze, you know, pattern in the body, way sharper tone, way shorter, you know,
Yeah.
responses rather than being able to lead from that heart-centered place, which mission-driven mastermind leader is everything, right? Is everything.
Good tie-in. It's so good. No, it's true, right? Because like you're totally right. When we're in a threat response, if there's a threat coming my way, I'm immediately going to go back to the amygdala, right? Like we've all heard, like the fear center of the brain, right? And like all of my higher level thinking of the prefrontal cortex like goes completely offline, which is actually where the heart stuff really lives. Like if I feel safe, I can go into my heart and I can actually be mission driven. But if
Mhm.
I don't feel safe in the world or at least like in my home, um, it's really hard to like lead other people. It's really hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Bodybasedbreakthrough.com/LM. And what we'll do here to start wrapping things up is
Yeah.
I'll do a summary of everything that we've
Ooh.
talked about today. Nice little summary. And then if you can leave us with a parting word, thought, whatever it is, I'll give you some time to cook, as the kids
Nice.
say. It is in your name too, Matthew Cook. He's cooking. All
He's
right.
cooking.
Uh, yeah. So starting with the problems of anxiety and how that comes into our life, and people who have brilliant minds and they feel like they're leaving something on the table by not tapping into their subconscious mind. And the many tech teams, high level teams that have embraced your work. And it really simply being how you said of mind, body, actions on the same page. Mind, body, and actions. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what country you're in, doesn't matter what you believe. Mind, body, and actions apply to all of us. And how you came into this by starting in tech, you know, 70 hours a week, having flu-like symptoms because your body's like, yo, buddy, what are you doing? I can't keep up with this. I can't do this. And
Yeah.
so you finding your own path of what would work, and mind, body, and actions come together, and ultimately sharing it and sharing it and sharing it until you had the catalyst, the damn shame catalyst, the person, the popular speaking truth to you and saying, hey, there's essentially, boom, there's a whole world of balloons
The
people
world.
celebrating this work, sharing this work, and you'll keep it all under lock and key if you don't share it in this next bigger way. And so you guided us on this abbreviated facilitation of the body-based breakthrough.
Yeah.
The headline, desired experience, inspired action. And before I send it over to you, some of the quotes that I really love that you share from your teacher with these movements is that the slower you move, the quicker you change
Mm.
doing these movements. And that the body is fastest to pick up information. There we go. There we go. I hear the applause already for that quote. And the body being fastest to pick up information, but the last to put it down, i.e., sleeping on it, i.e., going for a walk. And so all of this culminating into more peace, more presence, more strength, I'd say more happiness, just in our daily life, as well as in our leadership and, of course, in our mission. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to you with the final thought to close this out.
Woo. It's so good, Sebastian. Thanks, man. It's just really inspiring to talk to you, man. I feel really geeked up about my work more now than ever. I think after like hearing you s reflected back, which is just so sweet. I think my focus now more than anything else is quality over quantity. I think we live in a really fast world, and I'm like reflecting back on Tim Ferriss, who I think was actually reflecting on another quote that I think it was like Mark Twain that said like, if you see like the mass populace running in one direction, run like hell in the other direction. And
Mm.
I think like the speed with which we're moving in our day-to-day lives, and I think especially in the coaching and entrepreneur space, I think there's a whole lot of like hustle porn out there and like hustle and grind culture stuff that I think is like slowly starting to like the Berlin Wall is coming down slowly, but I think that there's so much power in quality. And I think the work that you're doing, Sebastian, in building quality relationships above like anything else is what feels like so close and near to my heart right now, is thinking about quality over quantity. Because I don't want to, I guess like I'm getting really existential here. I don't want to die, Sebastian, I don't want to like go to my deathbed and be like, I mean, I did a whole lot of Instagram posts. That's cool. Right? Like, right? I think I want to be like, wow, I made incredible relationships and I like really touched people. So I think quality over quantity is the thing that's like really touching me right now.
Mm.
Yeah.
I definitely feel it. Yeah, love that. That's
I
cracking me up. I sure sent a lot of Instagram posts.
made a lot of Instagram posts.
Oh, wow. Quality over quantity. Love that. Thank you for closing us out with that. So, that has been this episode in Maximize Your Mastermind. This has been somatic coaching with Matthew Cooke, aka body based breakthroughs for mastermind leaders. See you next time.